Have you ever been scared of what's next? Ever been scared of what's next? Like, I already tell you, I already know what's next Sunday. I'm not wearing this suit. I'm already going to tell you that, okay? This is the one time a year that I actually wear a suit and tie, and I was too lazy to change it before this service. So just in case all you're going like, wait a second, am I dressed right? Yes, Easter. So I dress up one time a year for Easter. So next Sunday, I will not be dressed like this. Are you scared of have you ever been scared of what's next? Some change is coming, some unknown out there. When I went to Kentucky for graduate school, it was the fall of 1987. And you probably can't fathom this today, but I went to Wilmore, Kentucky to graduate school. The first time I saw my grad school was the day I moved in. I'd never been there before. Literally never been there before. So first time I walked on campus was the first time I walked on campus for that semester in 87. And that was tough. That was a really tough semester. I was contemplating leaving, returning to familiar surroundings because I didn't know anybody. Had a roommate from Indiana. He was nice, but we had not much in common. Found another guy named George. We had something in common. We both liked the Cardinals. Unfortunately, they lost the World Series that year, so that was a bummer. But as the semester proceeded to go on, it was clear I was going to move on. I needed to go somewhere different. I needed to return to familiar surroundings. But at the end of that semester, literally a couple weeks before it ended, a church 50 miles north of my campus hired me to come on staff. And really that saved the day, because I was able to move to the city and instantly had a family and I instantly had friends. And so that saved me because I was really not sure of what was next had I left the grad school after that first semester. But fast forward 4.5 years later, in June of 92, received my first appointment. I was to be pastor at a church in Scotts Ferry, Florida. And the first time that I saw that church was the day that I moved in. So back-to-back moves where the first thing I saw of the place was the day I moved in. And I remember on the drive down, I had the U-Haul. I guess I was towing my truck and my wife was driving her car. Her mother came with us on the move down in 92. And I was driving the truck, a bus, van thing, so I was all by myself. And I had a conversation with God as the closer I got to Scotts Ferry in Florida that, okay, God, I really don't know what is next. So you got to take charge of this. This is all on you. Because I literally have no idea. I've been on staff at 2 different churches before that. Always had a senior pastor. Always had a number of people that I was accountable to. I was the only paid person basically at this church. All on me. And I said, God, you got to take care of this. You've got to take care of this. And I'm wondering if any of you ever been in that situation, right? Where you're not knowing what's next, you're scared, but you have enough wherewithal to say, God, you got to take care of this. And here's the deal. I think many of us are not ready to do that. I think many of us are not at this place of making of looking at what's next and literally handing it over to God and say, you got to take this because I am clueless. It takes a while for us to build up this trust in God to get to this point. But when we look at the disciples at this first Easter, we see this. We see them not sure of what is next. That they are not sure. They are scared. They are fearful of what is next. And as we look at their lives and we look at this first Easter, I think that we're going to be able to glean something for our lives as well. So the passage we're going to look at is in John chapter 20, and we're going to pick up on Easter evening. But remember what has already happened. This is first Easter morning. The tomb has been busted open. Jesus has risen. There's been reports about Jesus being alive, right? And because we have this Easter that we celebrate, what do we have? We have hope for the next life. We have hope that this current life we have is not all there is, that there's something beyond this physical life. And we have that hope because of Jesus. And also we have that message of hope in Easter for our day-to-day lives here. It's not just we're going to wait till the eternity to figure out what Easter was all about. We can figure out what Easter is all about literally every day of our lives. And that's what happened to the disciples. That's what happened. They figured out in one brief encounter, I think, that what's next was going to be okay. It was going to be okay. So verse 19 of John chapter 20, on the evening of that first day of the week, when the disciples were together with the doors locked for fear of the Jewish leaders. Why were they in fear? Why were they in fear? Well, because they had been with Jesus. They had been with Jesus. And I don't know about you, but when we look at history, we understand that the leaders of things that go bad are not the only ones that go down. The leaders, when things go bad, it's not just the one leader that goes down. It's the others that are surrounding him as well. After World War II, we had the Nuremberg trials. Over 200 people were convicted of war crimes, a third of them executed. After the Watergate scandal, we had 48 people convicted of crimes after the Watergate scandal. After the weekend at Bernie Madoff, all right. So, though 20 people figured out the weekend's going to last for many years in prison, all right. We had the cryptocurrency thing. About 5 different people got thrown under the bus and convicted. So the disciples were in fear because they had been with Jesus. They were known to be with Jesus, and there was possibly the Jewish leaders out there looking for them. Possibly the Romans were looking for him. The Romans had been placed at the guard of the tomb, right? The word was out that Jesus was supposed to be escaped from the tomb, and they thought the disciples were going to get him, so the Romans were guarding the tomb to make sure the disciples weren't going to steal him. So you can imagine, word's already gotten out. And so Romans probably been patrolling, looking for the disciples to see if, hey, where'd you put the body type thing? So all this had got out. So they were in fear. They were in fear. And I want to remind you of this. Fear often grips us when the future is unclear. Fear often grips us when the future is unclear. When we don't know what is next, then fear is just going to be part of our lives. And I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that. In fact, I think it's part of human nature. I think it's just sort of what we have to live with. And I say human nature, the human sinful nature, that we're going to have to deal with that fear, okay? I ran across a friend I hadn't seen in a while. I'd already heard through the grapevine he might be going through some struggles. And so I stopped him literally in the parking lot. He was in his truck, and I was talking to him. And sure enough, he shared with me, and real briefly, I lost my job after I've been with the company for so long. So you could tell in his tone that what was next for him was still in doubt. And he was still struggling. He had some anxiety and had some angst about what was next for him. I said, 100 resumes, man. I hadn't heard a thing back from any of those resumes. None of us know for 100% what is next. Okay, we might think we do. We plan for it. I plan. I got stuff I'm planning on doing this afternoon and tomorrow and the days and weeks ahead. Already planned out stuff. But I'm not 100%, right? At best, our future is fuzzy. At best, our future is fuzzy. And let me share a little bit about where I'm coming from as well. Because my future literally is in your hands. Did y'all know that? my future, my what is next is in your hands. Since 1992, that has not been the case, but that ended in 2022. Well, technically 2023. That ended. Since 1992, I had a couple people, one was called a bishop, another one was a DS, that would tell me where to go. They told me where to go in 92. They told me where to go in 97. They told me where to go in 99. And they tried to tell me where to go a few other times. But I kept coming back here. I kept coming back here. Well, in 2023, that hierarchical structure I'm no longer a part of. So the people that hold my next in their hands are in this room. Now, I was really fortunate that I did not have a lot of moves where I didn't know what was next since 99, because I've been here. Bobby Laster, our associate that you heard from at the beginning of the service, she had a number of those places where she was told where to go in her time in the ministry, where her and her husband, you got to go here, you got to go here. Sometime 1 year, they had to move after 1 year. I can't imagine some of that. And moving the family and her 3 kids. But that's the way where we were. But literally, both her and I are in your hands for what is next. And knowing some of you, yeah, I got some apprehension. All right, I got some apprehension. Little bit of apprehension about that. All right. And here's the deal, right? When fear is gripping us because the future is unclear, Jesus has a word for us. He had a word for the disciples as well. Well, verse 19, the last part of 19, Jesus came and stood among the disciples in that locked room and said, "Peace be with you. Peace be with you." After he said this, he showed them his hands and side, basically to prove he was real, right? His disciples were overjoyed when they saw the Lord. They were overjoyed. I want you to understand this. Their circumstances hadn't changed. They still did not know what was next. But their attitude was changed to overjoy, right? They had some overjoyous reaction to Jesus. They still didn't know what was next. He hadn't given them a clue about what they were to do. But they were overjoyed. Well, I want to remind you, with Jesus, it means fear out and peace in. Fear out and peace in. Or FOPI. If you remember FOPI, okay? A lot of y'all have FOMO. Don't have FOMO about FOPI, okay? Don't have that. The disciples should have realized that, wait a second, we've been here and done this. When Jesus appears to them and they are overjoyed and they have a peace about them, they should have realized, wait a second, this is deja vu. Because 2 other times when Jesus showed up, it was fear out and peace in. Both of those times that I'm going to reference had to do with them being on the boat. All of them were on the boat, disciples and Jesus. Jesus was sleeping, storm came up, they were in the middle of the big lake, and it was a bad storm. And they were being tossed about. Jesus was sleeping through it. The rest of the disciples were scared. They thought they were going to drown, so they woke him up. They woke him up. And he said in Matthew 8:26, "You of little faith, why are you so afraid?" Then he got up and rebuked the winds and the waves, and it was completely calm. Fear out, peace in. Fear out, peace in. Another time happened when Jesus sent the disciples on the boat by themselves. Basically said, "I'll join you later." Well, another storm came up. This is in Matthew chapter 14. And this is the story where Jesus walks on the water. The winds come, the disciples were getting tossed about. Jesus walks on the water, approaches them. They're scared. Then Peter walks on the water briefly. Then he sinks. He got scared. Then they get in the boat. Then those who were in the boat worshiped him, saying, when they climbed into the boat, the wind died down. Then those who were in the boat worshiped him, saying, "Truly you are the Son of God." Fear out, peace in. Fear out, peace in. I want you to understand that Jesus shows up not just in the literal storms, but he shows up in our storms. Period. Now, we are familiar, those of us who are from this area, I know we probably have some guests here today that are not from this area. We have these things in the summer called pop-up storms, right? And even the most experienced meteorologist uses that term. I'm not sure that term they learn in meteorology school or whatever, but we use it around here regularly. Well, it's just a pop-up. You can't see it coming. You have no idea when it's going to show up. You just know at some point it's going to pop up, right? And that's the way it is with life. That's the life that we are living. That things will just pop up. They will just pop up. And Jesus addresses this in John 16. John 16 is right before he was arrested, so it is not very far removed from that Sunday evening. I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace. In this world you have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world. So Jesus said, the troubles is coming. It's going to pop up. The trouble is going to pop up. It could be prolonged illness. It could be heartbreak, financial uncertainty, debilitating pain, PTSD. It could be learning issues, behavior issues. It could be abandonment, betrayal, family conflict, death. They're going to pop up. You don't know how long some of these are going to hang around, and you don't know when they're going to come. But Jesus says, in this world, you will have trouble. But in me, you have peace. In me, you have peace. And I think the vast majority of you wouldn't show up here on Easter if you didn't have some inkling to know that there is a God who cares about you, that he sent his son to die for you, and because of that, he loves you, right? And because he loves you, you believe he wants the best for you. So when these troubles come, when these pop-ups come in your life, I think the majority of us tend to look to God. We tend to put our focus on God during this time. Most of it out of selfishness. I want it to go away. I want it to be better. I want to feel better. And that's okay. That's okay. Because I think that's a natural response. David did it in the Psalms. When he was hurting, he went to God, right? But I want to challenge you with this. If you can focus on Jesus during the tough days, you should be able to focus on Jesus every day. If you only can focus on Jesus during the tough times, but not every day, then you need to evaluate the Jesus that you're focusing on. You need to look at that again. Fear out, peace in. Fear out, peace in. Jesus keeps going with his disciples on that Sunday evening. Peace be with you. As the Father has sent me, I am sending you. He reminds them of that peace again. Peace he'd already reminded them of just a few nights before. He reminded them about that peace. Brings it back again and said, peace with you again. And I'm going to send you. The peace that Jesus is bringing to his disciples, the peace that he's bringing in us, actually leads to purpose. It leads to purpose. You know, I know some of you can perform real well when things are stressful, when you're up against the gun, type thing. But I think the vast majority of us actually do better when we have peace. When there's calmness. I think we perform better at our jobs. We do better in our relationships. We just do better when we have peace. And Jesus tells his disciples, he tells us, I'm sending you. Peace that I'm bringing will propel you to where I want to send you. And you're all sent. It's really like this. I'm thinking about why Jesus did this. Because it'd be real easy for some of those disciples just to think, okay, I spent a couple years with Jesus. It was a great ride. Things were going awesome. But now it's over and let's go do something different. But Jesus didn't do that, right? Jesus didn't say that. It also picture, you remember the Forrest Gump running scene when he's running across country a couple of times, all these people following him, and he stops and went, I think I want to go home, And he starts and walks home. And then one of the guys says, what do we do now? All these people following him, what do we do now? And Jesus wasn't going to let the disciples question that. He said, yes, you have something to do now. I am sending you. I came and spent time with you day after day, month after month, teaching, mentoring, guiding, showing you what it meant to have this relationship with God, showing you what it meant to follow God, showing you what it meant to not look just religious, but to have a relationship with God. I didn't come for you to go home and go back fishing. There was a purpose in all this. In all this that we've done together for the last 3 years, there's a purpose. If I was rewriting the Bible and Jesus showed up on this night, I would rewrite it this way. When he finished with the disciples, I would have had him say this. I love it when a plan comes together, right? That's what I would have said, right? Thank you, all you two A-Team fans. All right. Okay? The peace that Jesus brings fulfillment to us when we are doing his purpose. But see, here's the deal. We have to keep the peace. Did you know that? We have to keep that peace. We have to have the peace in our life to fulfill the purpose in our life, to be sent. To be sent, and no matter where we're sent. And I believe, first of all of you are sent to be with your families. You are sent by God to your families. That's your first priority. And that's the first place that you are sent. As a husband, as a wife, as a father, as a mother. That's the first place you are sent. Then you're sent to your jobs. Then you're sent to your communities. You are sent to the world at large. You are sent. And you may be sent to places like Wilmore or Cynthiana, Kentucky, or you may be sent to places like Scotts Ferry, Florida. But you are sent. You are sent. But how do you keep that peace as you're fulfilling your purpose? Jesus tells us in verse 22, with that he breathed on them and said, receive the Holy Spirit. Receive the Holy Spirit. When you're approaching what's next in your life and you're trying to attack the next in your life on your own power, you're going to be drained. You're going to be frustrated. You're going to be angry. You'll probably take it out on people. You're probably going to take it out on people close to you when you're trying to do the next in your life all by yourself. Because here's what Jesus needs to he reminds us. You don't need to power through. You need his power in you. You don't need to power through on your own strength. You need his power in you, the power of the Holy Spirit, the same power that enables you to speak when you don't think you can utter a word, the same power that gives you the ability to stand strong when you feel weak. The same power that allows you to do something you'd never think that you would be able to do. That's the power that Jesus is giving to you and me. There's a link between the Holy Spirit and this peace. Because in John 14, again, this is a couple days before the resurrection, but I'm reading this from John 14, 26 and 27. But the advocate, the Holy Spirit, whom the Father will send in my name, will teach you all things. Same thing Jesus did. Will remind you of everything I've said to you. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. The Holy Spirit and peace are intricately linked to each other. The way Jesus said it and the way we live it. That power that comes to us through the Holy Spirit also gives us power to do what's next, and that is a mission of grace. You know what that is? Jesus told his disciples this, that Sunday evening of Easter. If you forgive anyone's sins, their sins are forgiven. He was not giving them divine authority. He was being a partner with them. The mission was to let the world know. that they are forgiven. He wasn't making them judge. He wasn't giving them control over anybody or anything. He was giving them a mission. You are sent, and you are sent to let people know that there is forgiveness. So I want to remind you of a couple things. First of all, you are not just saved from something, you're saved for something. You're sent. You're saved for something. You are not just called out of fear, you're called into a world that needs peace. And you're just not filled with the Spirit, you're empowered to share grace. You see, peace and grace and forgiveness are all possible. And so what is our next? What is our next? Peace in us and grace through us. Peace in us, grace through us. So today your prayer may be the one similar to what the disciples had. God, I want you to breathe on me your Spirit. Breathe on me your Spirit so that I don't fear. Breathe on me your Spirit so I'm not fatigued. Breathe on me your Spirit for my I'm not sure what's next life. Breathe on me that Spirit. I want that peace. God, I want that peace. God, I want that power for what's next. Even though I don't know what's next. You know what? That's okay. That's okay. It's okay if you don't know what's next. Because here's the deal. Peace isn't the absence of uncertainty. It's the presence of Jesus. Peace is not the absence of uncertainty. It's the presence of Jesus. What's next? I don't know. I don't know what's next for you. I don't really know what's next for me, truthfully, in all honesty. But I do know this. Fear out. Fear out. Peace in. Fear out. Peace in.